Yep.
All right. Hi, everyone. This is Emily Graybill again, and we are going to go ahead and get started. We are fortunate to have with us today Sonia Tinsley-Hook. Sonia was a faculty member in last year's AUCD Leadership Academy, and she is an expert in strengths-based leadership. She is not able to join us at this year's Academy during the week of, but we were fortunate enough to still get her for this pre-learning webinar where she's going to introduce strengths-based leadership and talk to you about the strengths tool that you all will complete prior to attending the Academy in June. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Sonia, and I've got my chat open. So if there are any concerns about sound or any questions that you have, I'll be monitoring the chat. We'll go ahead and turn it over.
Hi, everyone. And I'm so happy to be joining you all today. We are having some technology challenges, or I am, so I just want to take a moment and check to see that you can hear me okay, and I'll be counting on Emily to let me know if there are any issues with sound. I'm just going to pause for a second and see if my voice is coming through.
All right, no concerns being reported, so I think you're good. Thanks, Sonia.
Hip, hip, hooray.
Yay.
Okay. I don't want to jinx anything by cheering, though, so we won't cheer. So looking forward to introducing you, or if you've had experience with this, to refreshing whatever you know about character strengths, or if this is the first time you are learning about this type of strengths-based leadership, then I'm thrilled to be able to be a part of introducing you to something that I'm particularly passionate about and think is so valuable. And so just let's get started. The questions we will talk about today are: what are strengths and why are they important? Why should strengths matter to me as a leader? What is the VIA Character Strengths Survey and how will it help me? And then how do I take the VIA Character Strengths Survey? So hopefully by the time we finish this webinar, you will have answers to all of those questions. And also we'll try to leave some time for any other questions, any additional questions that come up for you at the end. So let's go ahead and start with the set of slides, the red slides. What are strengths and why are they important? And Emily, I'm going ahead and changing over to the slide that begins your strengths.
Great.
So what are strengths? I think a lot of us think we know what strengths are, but we might not be talking about the subject or about strengths in the way that we'll be using it in the context of this webinar and your work in the Leadership Academy. So when we talk about strengths from this psychological sense, we're really talking about behaviors or qualities, yes, which you perform really well. I think that's what most people think about strengths. Skills, things that you're great at, talents. But in the sense that we're talking about strengths today, we're also talking about behaviors or qualities that strengthen you on the inside. So yes, these are behaviors, ways of thinking or feeling that you are naturally good at, or which feel really natural and authentic to you, but most importantly, they feel enjoyable and energizing to you, as well as being a way that you make a positive contribution to other people, whether that's in a relationship or on a team. Let's switch to the next slide. Now, just so that we're all on some common ground about strengths, here are some common truths that we are going to establish for the context of our work. There are many kinds of strengths, and we're going to talk about a particular set today, those that are associated with the VIA Character Strength Survey. But what's important to remember is that we all have some strengths. So there's not a person alive who does not have some strengths, and particularly some of these strengths that we'll be talking about today. We all have different strengths. And so there is no one set of strengths that everyone should have in equal measure. And that's part of what's so beautiful about using this strengths-based perspective, is that we quit trying to fit everyone into the same box. Or, you know, we stop trying to say, oh, here's a list of competencies, skills, strengths that everyone should have and everyone should be equally good at. No one has every strength. And all strengths are needed and valuable. They all serve some purpose. And as we start talking about the different strengths, some of us, I know I've had it happen, we can experience a little bit of strengths envy, where you're like, oh, she's got a better strength than I do, or he's got a better strength than I do. But really, all strengths are valuable and needed in different contexts and at different times. There's no right set of strengths for every situation. And the fact that we all have different strengths and not one of us has every strength is exactly the reason that we team, that we come together, because we need each other to share our different strengths to accomplish common goals. So let's jump to the next slide. So we started out talking about how strengths are not just things that we're good at, they're things that we're good at that make us feel positive, energized, like we are making a valuable contribution. So when you're using your strengths, here are some of the things that are most likely running through your mind. I could do this all day. This makes me happy. I would like to learn more about this. Oh, I want to find a way to do more of this, or this is my calling, or when can I do this again? So whenever we are having those kinds of thoughts, it's a great sign that some of our strengths are in play. Now, here's a slide that describes some things that we are all familiar with feeling. How we feel when we're not using your strengths. When we're not using our strengths. So when we're not using our strengths, we are likely to have these kinds of thoughts. I hate this. I love that one. That's straight to the point. I hate this. Or the classic, this is going to take forever. The not as nice, who else can I get to do this instead? This is so boring. Being bored is a great sign that our strengths are not being engaged. I hope I don't have to do this again. And of course, I think this is my favorite. Why me? Followed by maybe banging your head on the desk or something. So let's go to the next slide. Now, there's some very compelling reasons why we should be paying attention to our strengths and the strengths of people around us. Decades of research in the field of positive psychology, this research has demonstrated that using one's strengths is actually an essential component for a variety of important and positive outcomes. So using our strengths plays a key role in our ability to develop positive relationships with others, the creation of positive emotions, also, within ourselves, but also for other people. Better communication with and increased understanding of others. We learn faster and are more creative and resourceful in our area of strengths. We're more energized. We're more motivated and engaged. We bounce back faster. We also are more likely to accomplish goals in which we are able to leverage our strengths. And so it makes sense that when we're doing things that we enjoy, we're more likely to be able to persevere and stick with it. So using our strengths helps us persevere and to stick to things. And whenever we work harder, of course, we have higher achievement. So it's a nice virtuous circle there with using our strengths. And one of my favorite pieces of research is related to purpose and meaning when we use our strengths. And there's research that shows when we are able to use 4 out of our top 5 to 7 signature strengths, we feel a sense of purpose and meaning. That's when we're more likely to say, oh, this is my calling, or I was born to do this, or I really feel like this is what I was meant to do. So let's go on to the next slide. Knowledge of our strengths is a type of power. So even if we don't know how to name our strengths, even if we can't easily ask the question, what are your signature strengths? We all thrive in environments in which our natural ways of thinking and being are valued and appreciated. So most likely, whether or not you've ever even thought about this topic, you've been using your strengths this whole time, and maybe you've not even been thinking they were strengths. A lot of us really think our strengths are common sense because they come so naturally to us that we just think everyone has this particular gift or talent or skill. So it's a little bit like the proverbial fish who doesn't see the water, who can't experience the water because they take it for granted. So our strengths can be a little bit like that as well. But once we are aware of our strengths, there is great power in naming them and recognizing them for the value that they bring to ourselves and others. Because once we can name our strengths and talk about our strengths, then we can intentionally create opportunities and environments that bring out the best in ourselves and other people. It can help us decide what roles are right for us, what goals make sense for us, rather than just relying on trial and error. So knowing and using our strengths helps us to flourish and to be successful and thrive. And let me change my emphasis there, because it's not just knowing your strengths, it's the knowing and using our strengths that brings all the well-being benefits. So just to sum up what we talked about in this section, our strengths are the best parts of who we are. If you remember just one thing from this section, remember that it's not just about what you're good at, it's what energizes you and feels natural to you. Using our strengths is essential for creating so many important positive outcomes that we want to create just as individual contributors, but also especially as leaders. We are here today in order to talk about developing as leaders, and so strengths becomes even more essential in this context. And when we are aware of the power of strengths, we can help ourselves and others to experience success and well-being. And that's really the core of what every leader wants to do. So moving on to the orange slides, we're going to talk a little bit more about why should strengths matter to me as a leader. So you wouldn't be on this webinar if you didn't care about being an effective leader. So let's talk about why strengths are so important. Leaders, one of the main things we want as leaders is for people to contribute their strengths. Even if we don't use that language, even if we don't know that's what we want, that's what we want. We're always, as leaders, trying to get people to contribute the best that they have in order to accomplish a common goal. We don't want people who don't really want to be doing this, or who don't care about the results they're trying to create, or who can't be counted on to deliver. So we want people contributing the best that they have to offer. And when we're talking about the best that people have, we're talking about their strengths. Let's go on to the next slide. So effective leaders value and encourage strengths. Everything that matters to an effective leader is connected to people being able to use their strengths. So again, all those outcomes we talked about in the previous section, the motivation, the engagement, the learning, the high achievement, the creativity, the positive relationships, improved communication, understanding, the passion, enthusiasm, increasing our ability to accomplish our goals. There's not one thing on this list that's not really important to anyone who wants to be an effective leader. So to close out this section, always remembering that as leaders, we want people to contribute the best that they have to offer. And the best that people have to offer is their strengths. It's not only what they're most skilled at, what they're most, the area in which they're most talented, it's also the things that energize them on the inside and therefore increase their likelihood that they keep with it, that they persevere, that they're engaged and motivated to keep contributing and to keep improving. So as effective leaders, we all want to inspire people to contribute their strengths. So now let's get to the fun part, the even more fun part, the VIA character strengths. So the next set of slides will outline and provide information to answer the following question. What is the VIA Character Strength Survey and how will it help me? So I'm moving on to that slide. What is the VIA survey? This is a tool that I really feel so passionately about for so many reasons. And so let me tell you a little bit about it. So the VIA stands for Values in Action. And it's a character strengths self-assessment tool. It's scientifically validated. And it's a way of helping individuals determine their top strengths out of a list of 24 strengths that are valued in almost every culture. It's the result of decades of research by some of the world's most respected psychologists and social scientists, including Dr. Martin Seligman and the late Dr. Chris Peterson. So, one of the things I also really love about the VIA survey is simply that it's free. And we all love free stuff, but this is a really valuable free tool because sometimes even a cost of $5 per person is too much to use in a community setting or in an organization where there's not really much of a budget. So this wonderful tool is really available to anyone in a variety of languages and formats. There's also now a scientifically validated paper version as well. So it's a tool that you can really use with anyone without having to worry about the cost. And so it just makes it a great way for a team of people to come together and be able to not only assess their individual strengths, but develop a common language within a team or within a group for discussing what's best in them and the good that they see in each other. So we need these strengths to thrive and survive. A lot of times we talk about strengths in terms of high achievement and how much we accomplish and how fulfilled we are by using our strengths. But that can also make the strengths sound like they're optional or really only something to pay attention if you're interested in being the best that you can be. Our strengths are not just about high performance and personal fulfillment, even though those things are really important, but they are really how we thrive and survive. I think I might have skipped over a slide, Emily. I wanted to briefly talk about why are these 24 strengths universally valued. Do you mind going back to?
Sure, I'm there.
Okay, so I had skipped ahead. Thanks. So we mentioned earlier that these 24 strengths are universally valued. And this ties into the fact that they're not only about thriving, which is important, but these strengths are ways that human beings have been able to connect, communicate, collaborate, cooperate since the beginning of time. This is what, if anything, these are humanity's superpowers. These are the ways that we get work done as people. These are the ways that we form communities and that we form positive relationships. And so once we begin to look at strengths from this perspective, we can see that whenever we want anything from someone, in every situation, on some level, we are really always asking people to share their strengths with us, even in our most basic exchanges. So let's skip back to the slide that I was talking about. We need these strengths to thrive and survive. And I believe I've basically talked about that now, that our strengths are the behaviors that have made it possible for us to create and maintain our positive connections, and really are the things that help us form communities. And so let's take a look at what these strengths are. What are the 24 strengths? This slide just gives an overview of all 24 together, and we're going to have a chance to talk about each one individually. But as you can see, there's nothing on this list, whether creativity, curiosity, judgment, perspective, bravery, love, hope. It becomes clear that there aren't any of these strengths that are optional when it comes to having effective, productive relationships with other human beings. And so that's what I meant by this idea that these strengths are not only about being our best, it's what enables us to connect on any level at all that's positive. As a reminder, I'm switching to the slide that says you have all the VIA strengths. It's really important for us to remember that we all use all 24 of these strengths. So you're going to take the VIA assessment, and there will be 5 to 7 strengths that are your signature strengths. But for each of us, we could not survive as human beings if we weren't using all of these strengths all the time on some level. So even if love is your number 24, I forgot to turn off my GPS. So even if love, or like for me, self-regulation is at the bottom of your list of strengths, that does not mean that you don't have that strength. It only means that that's not the one that you rely on most often in your day-to-day living. That's not the one that energizes you the most, or the one that you most, what's the word I'm looking for, that you most consistently contribute in a group setting or within a team context. So let's go to the next slide and talk a little bit more about this idea of signature strengths. You've heard me use that phrase a couple of times already. So your top 5 to 7 strengths are known as your signature strengths. As we've already said, these are going to be the ones that you rely on most often. These are the strengths that feel most natural to you and represent you at your best. When you use any of the strengths, it feels good because they're strengths. They're all strengthening. So we don't really talk about weaknesses in the context of this survey. We talk about lesser strengths, because we all have these, and it's always good to use any of them. But our signature strengths are the ones that feel like ourselves when we let our hair down, or ourselves with our shoes off, or whatever imagery to you means just being able to be yourself without having to adjust to accommodate other people. The signature strengths are the ones that feel most natural, most essential to who you are. And as we mentioned earlier, being able to use at least 4 of your signature strengths in a role provides a sense of purpose and right fit in this role. So not only for ourselves, but as leaders, as much as we are able to help people have the opportunity to connect their strengths to whatever they're doing, the more likely we are able to help them be effective in that role and to be more engaged and motivated. So let's start talking about some of these individual strengths. And as we're going through this list, even if you haven't taken the VIA Character Strength Survey yet, you might begin thinking, which ones of these strengths feel like me? Go ahead and start making your list. Maybe take a guess before you take the survey. Decide for yourself. Take a guess as to what your top 5 strengths might be, and then compare it with the online results you get later to see what kind of alignment is there. So let's talk about, these are in alphabetical order, so let's start with appreciation of beauty and excellence. So people who have this strength notice and admire things that are beautiful or excellent. They are energized by trying to make things as good as they can be. So you'll notice as we're talking about each strength, we don't say that they're necessarily good at it or the best at it. What's important again is that they're energized by trying to take things from one level and make them even more beautiful or more excellent. The next strength is bravery. So people who have the strength of bravery are energized by standing up for what they believe in spite of the challenges. So they don't let fear stop them from doing what they believe needs to be done. In fact, they feel frustrated. Often if you have this as one of your key strengths, you really have to express what you believe in and feel demotivated or drained by not being able to. I happen to have an 11-year-old daughter with bravery as her signature strength. So I'm learning a lot about all sides of this strength because she definitely lets me know what she thinks about almost everything. Creativity. People who have the strength of creativity are energized by finding new ways to do things or new ways to think about things. And so some of us really like to refine a process and make sure that it gets done the same way consistently, year in or year out. And that is also a strength that is necessary in so many situations. But if creativity is one of your signature strengths, then having to do something the same way as it's always been done really might feel like you're being punished. And so one of the things about having the strength language, when we are aware of these different strengths, we can begin to look at even behaviors that annoy us and think about what strength they might be related to. So a person who's high in creativity might always have one more idea or one more change they would like to make. And maybe when you look at that person through the lens of strength, you can think, well, they're not just doing that to annoy me. They're really energized by looking for a new way to do this. The next strength is curiosity. And people who have the strength of curiosity are energized by discovering and exploring new things. So this is also one of my signature strengths and probably one of the reasons that Google is my best friend, because I just have to know. I like to know everything about anything that's of interest to me, and because I have the strength of curiosity, so many things are interesting to me. So my challenge sometimes with this strength is to rein it in and to stop looking up new information. Fairness is the next strength we'll talk about. And people who have this strength want to make sure that everyone is treated equally. It would not surprise me at all if a lot of people on this call today will find fairness as one of their signature strengths. People with this strength are energized by making sure that all people have the opportunity to succeed. Forgiveness. People who have the strength of forgiveness are understanding and are energized by helping people recover from mistakes. They like to give people second chances, and they don't like being angry. This is also one of my signature strengths that my daughter has learned to leverage, because she knows that if you keep talking, I really will see and want to see it from your perspective. This is also one of those strengths, as you will find with several of these strengths that are part of the VIA Character Strength Survey. Sometimes people wonder, well, how is that a strength in a work setting or in an organizational setting? And I thought the same thing when I first got my VIA results. I don't know that I ever would have picked forgiveness for myself, but I came to realize how much it is a part of who I am, because a synonym for forgiveness is understanding, being understanding. And that is something that really drives me. I'm really not the person, if there's good cop, bad cop dynamic sometimes, as the saying goes, I'm the one who's going to be like, well, they didn't mean to do it. They didn't mean to do this. So again, any of these strengths, we can start to think about, well, what does that look like in a work setting? But there's so many opportunities whenever we work with human beings to forgive. We all make mistakes. We all need to be forgiven. We all need second chances. And so it really can be interesting to realize, as we look at some of these character strengths that seem like things we associate with personal relationships or family and friendships, and think about how important they are to having effective work relationships as well. Let's skip to the next strength, which is gratitude. People who have the strength of gratitude notice the contributions of others and genuinely express thanks. So again, this is another strength that is very personal, but if we put a little thought into it, it becomes clear why being around people who notice what you do and appreciate it and see the value in it, how that would strengthen any type of team or work environment. Next strength is honesty. People who have this strength are genuine and sincere, and they're energized by telling the truth as they see it. Now, for any of these strengths, there are going to be situations, there are going to be challenges that any of us experience by having this strength. So sometimes people who have the strength of honesty sometimes worry about being too blunt or not being able to hold in their feelings. But I think as we think about each of these strengths, we can see how essential it is to being in right relationship with other people. I'm going to pause a minute. Emily, were you trying to say anything to me?
No, sorry about that.
Okay, just checking. Let's go to the next strength of hope. So people who have the strength of hope see possibilities and opportunities beyond what exists in the current moment and are willing to help them happen. So these are our folks who help us get up again, try again when all seems lost. These are the folks whose minds keep generating new possibilities to keep us going, or who help us believe that there's always something else we could do to make things better or something brighter on the horizon. Again, we talk about strength so much in the context of our current modern day lives, but one of the things I have really enjoyed thinking about when I'm reflecting on strengths now is how much these strengths have helped us evolve over all of these thousands of years. And really, hope is one that in particular you can think about how hope which can seem, or sometimes people can make it seem like such a frivolous thing or a Pollyanna-ish thing, is really essential to what people are able to achieve and how people are able to survive and thrive. Humility is the next strength, so let's go to that slide. People who have the strength of humility might not ever tell you about it because they're using it, they're being humble. But these are people who like serving behind the scenes and sharing the credit with others. They are energized by being humble. They're energized by helping without need for recognition or glory. They're not just in it for the accolades. Let's go on to the next strength after humility, which would be humor. So people who have the strength of humor are energized by laughter and playfulness and making others smile. They help people see the lighter side of things. Again, another interesting strength to think about in the context of surviving over the hundreds of years as human beings. So helping people laugh, helping people to lighten up a little and decide that they can try again, very essential. Next strength is the strength of judgment. A lot of times people worry about having this strength because they think it means being judgmental. But we're not talking about looking down on other people or judging people in a negative way. Really, we're talking in this sense about people who are energized by thinking things through. So being a wise judge, being open-minded to all the perspectives, and then helping people make a decision after taking in all the best information. So these folks are energized by listening to other ideas and opinions. They like to hear all sides of the story before making a decision. Kindness. This is a strength that doesn't need a lot of explanation about why it's valuable. We are all kind. There's not a single one of us that is not kind someplace at some time with someone. However, people who have kindness as a signature strength are really energized by being caring and thoughtful. They're very motivated to help others and do good things for them. So in a group that you're in, we might hear that someone in our group is going through some type of tragedy or illness, and we might all feel sad about it, and we might all wish that person well. But the people who have that signature strength of kindness in your group will probably be the ones who organize a collection or think of some unique, some wonderful way, especially if they have the strengths of kindness and creativity combined. These are going to be the people who really have a need almost to express that concern by doing something caring and thoughtful. The next slide talks about the strength of leadership. People who have the strength of leadership are energized by getting people to work together to accomplish a goal and to get things done. They take responsibility and ownership for accomplishing results. Again, a lot of people, by definition on this call, are interested in leadership, care very much about being good leaders. Not all of us are going to have leadership, though, come out as one of our signature strengths. It doesn't mean that you're not a leader or that you don't lead. Leadership, in my list of 24 character strengths, is actually in the middle. And I, in my life, in my community life, have been president or currently serving as president of a lot of things. So it doesn't mean that you can't lead or don't lead. Speaking for myself, as someone who has leadership as a middle strength, but who also leads a lot, I find that I'm compelled to lead about specific things, but I don't have to be in charge in every situation that I'm in, or I don't feel unsatisfied if I see someone else doing the job, and I think they're doing fine. So, we're all going to carry these strengths in different places. So if something comes out near the bottom for you or in the middle, think about whether or not it's a strength that you have to express in all situations or in most situations that you find yourself in, or if it's a strength that's very context-based for you, like it is in this case with leadership for me. Love. What to say about love? So we all love. So even if love is your number 24, love is still a strength of yours. People who have the strength of love, though, are energized by caring deeply about other people and showing them fondness and affection. They actually shortened the name of this strength. The earlier version of this survey said something like, rather than just using the word love, it said something about demonstrating love, which is an important distinction because we all love, but in this particular context, this is really talking about people who show fondness and affection for others very openly and allow people to show them affection, allow people to feel close to them. So again, this is not one to be tripped up over if you find that it's not high on your list of strengths or is not a signature strength. Love of learning is the next strength. People who have this strength enjoy digging deep into subjects that they care about. They're energized by mastering new skills and developing knowledge and expertise. Perseverance is the next strength after love of learning. And people who have the strength of perseverance are energized by sticking with goals and projects until they are completed. They don't like to quit until the job has been finished. Again, another great strength to have as a signature strength, but I don't. Perspective. People who have the strength of perspective are energized by seeing the big picture and are able to make sense of the world in a way that's helpful to others. So these folks are often providing wise counsel and good advice. If people often come to you to get your feedback or to see what you think they should do or think about a problem, especially people who aren't necessarily just in your close circle, then it's a good chance you have this strength of perspective. Prudence. People who have the strength of prudence are cautious and careful, and they try to make good choices. They're energized by keeping long-term goals in mind and by thinking about the future impact of their actions. I've had a lot of personal learning to do with this strength in my own life because it's not one of my top strengths. It's not that I'm a careless person, but I'm an enthusiastic person. So I often get excited about things as soon as I hear about them. And I've had the opportunity to work with people who have the strength of prudence. And I must confess that often I would think, oh, what a wet blanket, or they're always, pointing out what's going to go wrong. And now, especially over my years of thinking about and studying and learning about character strengths, I've really come to value the fact that I need people with prudence around me to help balance that initial enthusiasm that I have for everything. And so rather than being like, oh, here they go pointing out being a wet blanket, using a strengths perspective helps me to think, well, what could go wrong? What are they pointing out that I might be missing? Self-regulation is the next strength. People who have the strength of self-regulation are disciplined and able to control their own behavior, emotions, and reactions. They're energized by making steady progress toward a goal and resisting temptations. Social intelligence. These are the folks who are able to pick up on the feelings and needs of other people, sometimes without being told. They're really energized by knowing what makes other people tick. Spirituality. This is a strength that sometimes people don't know what to do with in a organizational setting or work setting. But spirituality does not have to mean religion. It's really having any type of strong sense of faith, purpose, or meaning in life. People who have this signature strength help us feel a sense of higher purpose in our task and our events, and really inspire us to think about the larger meaning of things. And last, but definitely not least, is zest. People who have the strength of zest approach life with excitement, enthusiasm, and energy. We all show zest about things that we're excited about on some level, but really this is a defining trait for people who have zest as a signature strength. They're energized by being expressive and energetic and sharing that passion with others.
Sonia, this is Emily. Did you cover teamwork?
Oh, teamwork, and that makes the dream work.
Yes, I'll go back to that slide.
Where would we be without teamwork? Thank you. So, people who have the strength of teamwork work well as a member of a group and feel responsible for helping the group accomplish its goals. These are good citizens, people who do their share. They're energized by doing their share, not trying to get out of what's their responsibility to help the group be successful. So that should be all 24. So let's skip to the slide that comes after zest. How will the VIA survey help you in your work? We talked a little bit about this already, so I won't spend too much time on it. But identifying, when you use the VIA Character Strengths Survey, you'll be able to identify and use your signature strengths more intentionally so that you can be more effective and fulfilled in your leadership role. Having this common language between yourselves during the week of the academy and your ongoing relationships with each other, and back in your home environments where you will be leading and doing your work. Having this language will help you recognize the signature strengths of the people that you'll be working with in your community, and give you an ability to develop a common language for talking about strengths with them. The beauty of this particular set of strengths, it's not like some assessments where people go, oh yeah, and I love things like Clifton Strengths Finder. I use that a lot as well. But oftentimes with certain assessments, people forget what their strengths mean. These character strengths are words we've all grown up with all our lives, in part because they are so fundamental to what we need to have and do as human beings. But it's very helpful to have this shared language for looking for the best in ourselves and other people. So we just discussed, switching to that slide now, how the VIA survey provides a list of 24 character strengths that are valued in almost every human culture, how these strengths are essential for positive and productive human relationships. So they're not only about being our best and high performance, although they definitely add to that, but how they're really just essential to us being in any kind of positive relationship at all. We each have and use all 24 of the VIA character strengths. The 5 to 7 that we use the most are our signature strengths. We feel and perform at our best when we get to use our signature strengths, so we want to look at opportunities to do that as you're reflecting upon your work, especially during the time that you have for reflection during the Leadership Academy when you're here in Atlanta, taking time to think about how you're going to be able to express your top 5 strengths or 5 to 7 strengths in your work will be so important. Being an effective leader involves using our own signature strengths, whatever those are, to inspire other people to contribute their signature strengths. So that's what I've got for you. If there are questions, I'm happy to answer them before turning it over to Emily for more of the logistics on how you're going to take the survey.
Hi, everyone. What I will do now, if you want to pose any questions in the chat, well, I don't see any questions, so great. We'll keep moving forward. So the next set of slides are going to answer this question: how will I take the VIA Character Strengths survey? So here are the instructions for taking the VIA survey online. So we have a special link for you to access the VIA survey. As Sonia mentioned, the VIA is accessible to everyone online for free. The free version provides a slightly shorter report of your strengths, and so we have purchased an option for you to have a much more detailed report about your signature strengths. So you'll want to access the VIA through this special link. There will actually be some bit of a headache if you open an account first through the free version. So yeah, so access the VIA through this AUCD Leadership Academy link that we will email out to everyone. You'll want to register, click Take Survey, and again, we'll email this to everyone. You want to select a survey, and you'll want to select the adult survey. There is a youth version. Answer the 120 questions, and then it'll be important for you to consent to share your report with the faculty. And so that will allow us to view everyone's strengths. And we'll be doing some work during the week of the Academy with your strengths report. So we appreciate you consenting to share your report. Then you'll download your report and either print it and bring it with you to Atlanta, or save it electronically on your device and bring your device with you to Atlanta. So here are some screenshots. And again, we'll send this information to you, some screenshots of how to register. So you'll click register, enter your information. Click Take Survey. Then you'll select a survey. You'll select, I want to take the VIA survey adult. And then answer the 120 questions.
120 very brief questions.
Yes, it sounds longer than it is. They're very brief. You can see some of the questions here. I practice my religion. So again, some very, very short questions here. This is an optional survey that provides some additional information to the folks at VIA, so this is optional. And then there's the consent form. So it says here, because you are taking the survey on a consultant site, meaning through the AUCD leadership site, you must consent to have your results shared with your consultant. So that's where you click agree and then continue. And then you'll get your strengths profile. Download your report and bring your report to Atlanta. Okay, so here's what we just discussed. These are the instructions, step-by-step instructions for accessing your strengths report. Any questions at this point? Pose them through chat. Okay, well, we have one more pre-learning webinar, and that will be on June 14th, where we will cover courage and renewal and circles of trust, which is a guiding framework for the week that we're together. So we will send you the link to register for this webinar, in addition to sending you the link to accessing this recorded webinar and the PowerPoint. All right, if you have any questions, you know where to find us. Here's our contact information. So there are no further questions. That's the end. And thank you all for being with us today. And we look forward to being with you on June 14th for the third and final webinar.